welcome to Smart from the Start. I'm Daryl Murdoch, your host. This episode is about choosing the right school for your child. We have a panel of experts here and I would like to introduce them to you. First of all, Clinton. Clinton, where are you from?
From Cairns.
Excellent, and you're a principal of the Cairns Adventist school there?
Yeah, that's right, it's a Prep to 7 school.
Excellent. Mark, tell us a little bit about your background.
It's good to be here, Daryl, and I'm the principal of Gilson College, which is located in Melbourne, Victoria, and it's a prep through to Year 12 school.
And Leanne, I understand you're from that part of the world as well.
I am. Mark's actually my boss. I'm the head of the primary school, so I'm responsible for looking after the P to 6.
Excellent, very good. And Lyndon?
Yeah, I'm principal at Nunawading Christian College, and I've been involved in Adventist education in Australia for a few years now.
Very good. Well, I'm sure you're going to have some wisdom for parents who may be looking for the right school for their child. It's a very important decision, and there are many choices that people have when it comes to deciding where they might want to send their child to school. There are, of course, private schools that are available, there are grammar schools, there are Christian schools, and there are state schools. And I'm sure your wisdom will be very helpful today in helping to determine exactly what a parent should consider when looking at a school for their child. There are many competing priorities that parents face when wanting to choose a school. I'm just wondering if we could explore that. Leanne, have you got some perspectives on what some of those priorities might be?
Yeah, sure. I think many parents are looking for a school that will provide their child with great academic results. That's very important to them, along with a school that actually has strict discipline and that has peers that will influence them in a really responsible way. I think that's very important to parents, and they definitely look for that.
Okay, well done. I'm sure there's some other markers. Lyndon, from your perspective, what are you sensing that parents are looking for?
Well, many of the parents are actually looking for an education that they can afford. They want the best education they can afford, and now if they're going to go for some of the elite schools you've talked about, often that puts them right out of the picture. So affordable education is important.
So we've got affordability, we've got academics, we've got good discipline. Are there other aspects we'd like to consider? Mark?
Yes, Daryl, it's often that these days you'll find parents will come into your office and will ask you about the value system that the school subscribes to, about its mission and its philosophy, because it seems like our society has gone down a road where there are no values, and they're feeling that this bankrupt situation that they've found themselves in is one where they're needing support for their values that they have at home.
Indeed, indeed, and I think that is most important that parents keep in mind. The Christian school choice is one that is available to many people today. Why do you think it would be perhaps important for somebody to consider a Christian school when they're wanting to choose a school for their child? Clinton?
Well, I think the Christian schools, like we said before, have those values sort of embedded in them. And people nowadays are after those values to be, taught, not only taught, but actively shown as well. So I think, in a Christian setting, that's really what a Christian school is all about.
Okay, so values. Mark, have you got anything to add in that regard as to the Christian dimension and what it might add?
Yes, I think that oftentimes there is a perception that our society is originally got a young child surrounded by a number of support mechanisms. There used to be grandma and grandpa, there were the aunts and the uncles, there was the local shopkeeper, and we all knew those people and they all guided a young child as it was able to grow. And nowadays, the extended family is gone. The church was often seen as a support mechanism in the past, is now considered irrelevant. And so we've got this situation where who's going to support us as mum and dad to help our child? And so the school has become one of the last places that is often there to support that young child getting there and growing up with a value system. And if I add to that, we have a media that's now actively hostile towards our value system. And so they are there sort of saying, I need support, I need help.
I think that it's often thought that choosing a school that has a high academic reputation is going to be something that is going to give a passport into life for a young person. And there is no doubt that making the choice of a school is important in terms of determining career opportunities and career chances. Is it necessary to go to the expense of an exclusive private school to obtain the goals that a parent might be looking for in terms of career options?
I think the best outcome is when the school actually espouses the same values as home. And I think particularly of a family I've been speaking to just recently. The child in the school, they love the school, they've got good friends, and the school espouses the same Christian values, but an older sibling has actually gone for the academic style. And suddenly this child has lost interest in church. They have good friends, but those friends are not encouraging them in the same way as the family would like them to go.
And I think that's important that people bear in mind, that it's that peer group that sometimes can be so important to the choice. Has anybody got a comment on terms of the impact of peers?
I think that's actually one of the most important things that people look for when they do choose private education, is they're actually looking for an environment that provides something different to the norm, and that difference is children that respond to their children in a positive way, that there's a sense of kindness and caring, including others, those kinds of things.
You can develop relationships that last for a lifetime in that setting.
And I think that that is something very precious and very special to hang on to.
Daryl,
Thanks for your comments.
Daryl, I'd add to that maybe as Christians we should actually be at the forefront when it comes to the other areas of school. You mentioned earlier about the academic excellence. I believe that we should be there, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might. And I think that we should be enthusiastic, we should be passionate about our integrity and about our academic excellence. And that also just is a good complementary factor that gives extra value to a Christian education.
So a Christian school is not necessarily dumbing down, it's a value-added component.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. We are going to continue this after the break. We are talking about choosing the right school for your child. We're going to be looking with our panel of experts at what you should actually look for when you enter the school grounds and talk to the principal. Stay with us, we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Smart from the Start. In this episode, we are continuing to explore choosing the right school for your child. And the panel have given some good tips and clues so far. And in this section, we're going to be looking at what parents should be looking for when they actually visit a school site. So, panellists, some of you are school principals, some of you are teachers. What are the things that you would say to parents they should be looking for when they come and visit the school? And maybe there are sometimes things that we perhaps want to skip past, but we're being honest here, so let's have a bit of a look at this and just give some tips to our parents. Clinton.
I know, Daryl, that parents are always coming in and looking at the facilities of the school, seeing what's there, if we have a sports ground, that type of thing. But I'd sort of point them in the direction that it's not so much, the buildings, the facilities that the school has, but it's what it really offers in terms of, its education, in terms of the school ethos, how it feels. That's probably the big one for parents. I'd sort of encourage them to see, okay, well, what's the school feel like? How do the students interact? How do the teachers interact with the students? That's probably the key aspect that I'd be pointing them in the right direction.
It's interesting that, isn't it, that when you go and visit many different businesses, including schools, you get a feel very quickly for what a school is all about. There's a tone, there's an atmosphere there. It's a little bit nebulous. I'm not quite sure how you define it, but how do you folks perhaps set about creating the right tone and atmosphere? Leanne?
I'd like to build on what Clinton was saying, because I think it's also about that interaction. How do the students speak to each other? How do the staff speak to the students? How do the staff speak to each other? How does the principal come across to you? Are they warm? Are they approachable? It's that human interaction that gives you a sense of, do they love what they're doing? And if they love children, that will be evident in the way they all interact with each other.
So the first tip perhaps is look for the way people treat each other.
Absolutely.
Are they happy at the front office?
Yeah.
Is the principal welcoming?
Yeah.
Are the students smiling and friendly? Are the teachers happy, and is there interaction between the students? So as you say, Clinton, it's more than just the buildings.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
You've come into the principal's office, you've had an introduction to the principal, you're about to go out for the tour. What do you look for?
Looking for memorabilia on the walls. What does the school treasure? Now, are they the sporting trophies, or are they? Is it memorabilia that indicates that this place belongs to Jesus Christ? They are important things.
Indeed, indeed. There's that value base coming through again. All right, you've made it out of the office. You're into the schoolyard. Where are we going next? What should we be looking for? I
know the principal is going to take you to the most swish parts of the school. So I'll be asking about what's behind that door, and can you tell me what's happening over there if those parts are being avoided?
Okay, so ask some questions, Mark.
Daryl, I was going to say, if we can come right back to when you make the appointment. If you can make it at a time when the students are going to be changing classes, then you'll see the opportunity for those students to be leaving class or heading back into class, and you'll see them in a perhaps less artificial environment where they're free to act as they normally would. And I think that gives a good insight to mum and dad when they're on the school campus and being able to see the little Johnnies and Marys there working hard.
A great insight, an excellent insight, one to watch out for. And that movement between classes, it tells a great deal. Okay, so what else are we watching out for as we're conducting this tour?
The principal would be taking the parent inside some classrooms as well, watching some teachers in action and watching some children responding and learning.
I'd actually be looking about what's on the walls. Is learning valued? Is there writing on the wall? Is there maths? Does it just look pretty, or is what the children do, is that valued? Is that up and around? Are the values of the school reflected in the classroom? So, you know, if it's a Christian school, is that obvious when I walk into the classroom? Can I see things that will make me think, yes, they actually are doing what they say they're doing?
That's something you can tell very quickly too, isn't it? You walk into a school and you can tell whether it's true or not.
So they're walking the talk, so to speak.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think you've hit on something here that's important too, in terms of when you make the appointment to see the principal. If they say to you, would you like to come at 4 in the afternoon, or would you like to come on the weekend, your response would be, no, we really want this to be during school hours so we can see what's going on and the dynamics of the school. Okay, we're continuing our tour around. What else should you be looking for?
One of the most critical elements in a classroom has got to be the teacher. And so your opportunity to get in the classroom and see the teachers, to see, am I going to be happy with those children, with those adults teaching my children? And I think that's a pivotal point, because the blackboard, we can look at the quality of the blackboard, but it's the quality of the teacher that's the most significant factor.
So you'd be looking for a teacher to come over and perhaps be introduced to the parent and maybe engage in a short discussion.
And what the children are perhaps doing in the background while that conversation is going on could perhaps be quite revealing also. Some people suggest perhaps you should even go and look at the school toilet facilities. Can that be a revealing exercise in terms of schools?
I actually think that would be. It's one of the things that children find really important. Are the toilets clean? Do they smell nice? Do I like to be in there? And often school toilets aren't. So it's actually not a bad thing to do, is to have a look at the toilets.
And is there any graffiti? Is there any things going on there that perhaps spell that the school has a downside, maybe? All right, we're coming to the end of our tour around the school. Any other things that you should be suggesting that a parent should be looking at?
I think maybe even the tuck shop or the canteen, just seeing, you know, what types of things they sell, is it healthy or not? Yeah, just seeing what the kids are able to buy, I think is important.
I'd also be wanting to know how the school celebrates worship. Now, if a school is saying it's a Christian school, worship is an important part of. Have they got a special place for that? How do they set that up? How's it kept by the school?
Indeed. Anything else that you'd like to share? Well, Leanne's got one more.
Yeah, I probably think it's important to ask questions about what sort of things do the children learn about, because some children find it difficult to struggle in traditional subjects like reading and writing, but they might be brilliant at art. So does the school value art? Does it value music? What things does it offer your child? They need that well-rounded balance to be able to be the best that they can be.
Some excellent tips and clues there on what to look for when you're doing a school tour. Thank you for that panel. We're going to be going to a break, but when we come back from the break, we're going to be going into the principal's office and asking the right questions of the principal about a school that you might be considering choosing. Welcome back to Smart from the Start. We're continuing our discussion on choosing the right school for your child. We've just had a tour of the school with our panel of experts. Thank you very much for your comments. I think we've ascertained that you should always endeavour to attend while the school's in session. You can then gauge the atmosphere of the school, the way in which teachers interact, the way in which students interact, and to look and see just what the ethos of the school is. So thanks, panellists, for your excellent contribution. Before the break, we said that we would be looking at what are key questions that you should ask. So you've finished the tour, you're back into the principal's office, it's been a good tour, but you really now want to engage and find out more about what this school stands for. So, Lyndon, we're back into the principal's office. What should we be asking the principal?
I'd be wanting to know more about his staff. How long have the teachers been here? Do they know the curriculum? Have they been here too long? Are they entrenched in what they're doing? How do they cope with change?
And I guess the flip side of that, is there an exodus of teachers every year? That would create a little bit of a warning sign too, I'd imagine.
That's right.
Yeah. Any of our other panellists want to chip in with a key question that should be asked?
I'd actually ask, how does the discipline in the school run? So what's the behaviour management policy? What is it? What does it include? What happens? Because that's really a very important part of running a school. So what are the core values that the policy is built on? Is it about compassion and trying to support them to change their behaviour if they're making wrong choices?
And it's important there's that compatibility between the home and the school in terms of the standard of discipline and the approach to discipline. So an important question to ask. Perhaps Mark.
Clinton.
Well, I was just about to say, you know, the vision of the school, I think if the parents ask the principal, where do you see the school in 5 years or 10 years, where's the school actually going? You know, does it have a vision? Because I want to send my child to, you know, a place that's going somewhere. Yeah.
Indeed. You want to be able to climb on board and stay there for the long haul.
Absolutely.
Back to you, Mark.
Yes, I think that oftentimes when parents are looking for a school, they're looking for a place that their child is going to feel comfortable with their peer group, where they're going to be able to connect with their teachers, they're going to be safe, and the quality of learning that takes place there is of a really high quality, and so they're looking for a complete package, and I believe that it's an important decision, and so that the homework that parents put in is valuable, because it's a decision that will, its ramifications go on for years.
Now, often people are considering a faith-based school. Is there some questions that perhaps need to be asked in relation? Leanne, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I think if you come from a religious background or if you don't, to find out what religion the school is, it's important to ask questions about that faith to see whether it marries with what you want your child to learn. So I work in the Seventh-day Adventist school, and I often get parents asking me, you know, what does that mean for my child? What are they going to learn? What does it mean to be a Seventh-day Adventist? So we talk through some of the beliefs that we have that are similar and maybe some things that are unique.
Academic standard?
Well, just before you go on to this, there's another area too. I'm aware that the strength of the school is dependent upon the quality of the leadership. If we're talking about spiritual life, I want to know about the principal that I'm talking to. Is this person a spiritual person? And I might look at saying something like, now this is a really tough decision for us and we're deciding where we should go, and it's a matter of prayer for us. Would you pray for us?
A very good observation. I think that would be a tremendous gauge. Thanks, Lyndon. Academics. You're going to be talking about academics at all, or is your decision perhaps based on other things?
I believe it's an important part, because I think that education in a Christian context should not only be for this life but for eternity. And so if we're going to educate for this life, then the quality of education in a Christian environment should be good. We should be at the forefront, not at the vanguard.
So I would be asking, you know, in Australia there's standardised tests that happen on a national level. I'd be asking questions about that. What are the strengths of the school? You know, what are you doing to address maybe some weaknesses? What does your school do well? And actually asking some of those key questions, and then also tipping that into are your staff involved in professional learning? What sort of professional learning have they been involved in recently?
Some insightful questions. Thank you very much, panellists. One question that often comes to parents' mind, particularly if they're choosing a faith-based school, is some of these faith-based schools are smaller. And sometimes people shy away because the school is smaller. Now, Clinton, I know at your school in Cairns, you have a smaller school.
Yep.
What would you say are perhaps some of the good points of a smaller school?
Well, I think it's more a family type atmosphere. You know, everyone knows everyone else. Yeah, it's a great little family atmosphere. The kids know each other. For example, I know in some of the bigger schools you wouldn't have Year 7, for example, playing with prep. But yet in my school you've got that, where they all interact together and they love each other. Yeah, in worships they sit on each other's lap, that type of thing. They really enjoy sort of interacting with each other.
There's a real sense of belonging,
Yeah,
a sense of family that comes with that.
There's
Lyndon.
a sense of leadership there as well that takes place, that is more opportunities for that.
It's almost like those older students become a cooperative teacher for the younger ones. So you've got this joint effort of leading and directing. And
So
that leads into the leadership question. I think there are more opportunities in a smaller school for leadership than you do in larger schools.
Well, you can't sort of hide in the crowd then, can you?
No,
So yeah.
Thanks for your comments, folks.
Whether it's carting the bins out or leading in a worship time or assembly or whatever. Sorry, I cut you
No,
off.
that's fine. I think there's a lot of research which would back that less children fall between the cracks in a smaller school environment than a larger school environment. I think that's worth bearing in mind. We need to sum up, and I want to hear from you folks, perhaps just in closing, 2 or 3 key tips that you might have in terms of saying to a parent, this is what to look for in choosing a school. Lyndon.
Does the school run a balanced program?
And by balance, do you mean?
I mean academics, the social life, the spiritual life of the school. Are they all in balance?
So it's not just academics.
No, not at all.
Leanne?
Yeah, I believe vision and values, do they actually match with what's important to you as a family?
Good, good. Clinton?
I think the parents should talk to other parents of the school and, you know, just get a feel for what the school's all about and, you know, if they're happy with it.
That's a good comment, and that hasn't come up earlier in our discussions. Talk to other parents to see what they might be saying. And that is very, very valuable to do, because they're going to give you a very honest assessment.
That's right.
And if a school comes recommended by others, then you know generally it's a good school. And I think as administrators in schools, you would know that the gold in your school is positive parents who are talking up your school.
Yeah.
Mark?
Daryl, one of the questions that I've often been asked is, what's the philosophy of the principal? And my response to that has been that school should actually be fun. It should be firm, the children are young, right? It should be fair, right? And then finally we should be teaching them about the Father in heaven.
Thanks, Mark. That's an excellent summary. And I'd like to thank you all as panellists. You've done an excellent job. I am sure that parents have picked up some wonderful tips and clues in how to choose the right school for their child. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you'll join us next time when we look at the ideal curriculum.